is Priceline, which is the global leader in online travel and restaurant reservations. Listen to the web addresses that they own. You'll be familiar with these. Booking.com, Priceline.com, which is US-based and mostly to do with air tickets. Agoda, which services that Chinese market, and then some other sites like rentalcars.com and opentable.com. Market capitalization bigger than you might think, $88.3 billion. Price earnings ratio 38.27, no dividend, and their key competitors are businesses like Expedia and TripAdvisor. But Priceline is the one that we're talking about because Booking.com is their core business.
Yeah, so I mean, Priceline, I think many people watching the show would have used Booking.com or rentalcars.com to do their overseas travel. And when you talk about online travel, I mean, you're really talking largely these days about using your phone to make travel arrangements, as opposed to phoning a travel agent and, you know, have a work through 3 or 4 different vacation options and you know, work through the pricing on each one. Now you can do that in a matter of minutes through your phone.
And the great thing about it is because it's all, you know, kind of set up and has great user interface, often you find it so much easier. Like if you want to book, you know, a couple of nights because you're on a Latin American tour and you're going to be somewhere in Chile, for example, so much easier to do that on an English language site where everything is pre-approved and the credit card validation processes are better than to wrestle your way through the Spanish language site of some third-rate, you know, operator with a, you know, funny back end that doesn't accept your card.
Absolutely. I mean, to give you an example, about a year and a half ago, I traveled through the continental US with my wife, and we did all the bookings on Kayak, which is you know, part of
Priceline's.
One of Priceline, and you know, we weren't quite sure where we were going to be at any point in time. So you know, 20 minutes before we realized we needed to stop for the night, you know, we'd hop onto Priceline and make our bookings.
Because of course, Kayak is one of those comparative search engines, so it's a great place to see, right, I need to fly from Seattle to, you know, San Francisco that day. Let me look and see what the price points are and the time frames are and what would suit me better.
Absolutely, and the convenience of it, the consistency, the robustness, the benefit of getting, you know, the best price deal at that point in time is just, you know, it's incomparable to anything else.
Let's just explain to viewers how the business model worked in case they hadn't worked it out. So the owners of either airlines or critically hotels make their inventory available to these sites in order to reach a broader audience. They also pay for the way that they are profiled in that environment. So the business model is free to the user, but there's considerable benefit to the company from these relationships with the property owners.
Yeah, so to put it into perspective, there are over 1 million different hotels and similar accommodation that are available on bookings.com in over 225 countries, all at your fingertips. You know, so you can decide exactly where you want to go on holiday, you know, which car rental company you want to use and compare the various options, which flight operators you want to use, and, you know, look at 3 or 4 different scenarios and compare which one best suits you.
Very well set up. I mean, I'm going down to Cape Town in a month's time to go and run a half marathon. I booked for a night in the waterfront area close to where the race starts. The booking is done through booking.com. They've got my credit card details, but there's no charge. You basically pay when you're at the hotel, and booking.com is presumably getting something like a 10 or a 15%
Yeah, the margins are about 15%.
That's pretty damn good business for booking.com without any credit risk involved, without any kind of, you know, sort of contribution. They're making... So the margins in this business are incredible.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of people a few years ago when Airbnb came up said, no, Airbnb is going to take market share from these guys because more and more people were latching onto the Airbnb idea. But if you look at what Priceline's done, is they've managed to build what they call their vacation rental business, which is essentially the same as Airbnb, you know. And when you look at the results, even though it's a slightly lower margin, more and more, we see more and more growth in these vacation rental businesses. So they managed to get some inroads there as well.
Good point. Now let's look at the share chart. So now this is an interesting one. Quite a lot of US stocks do stock splits once the share price gets a bit high, but Priceline for one reason or another has never done that. So to buy one share, you've got to cough up $1,800. They were briefly above $2,000. Slipped back a little bit on some slightly softer results, you know, but it's one of the sector leaders. And remember too that they spend quite a lot of money with Google and others, Priceline that is, making sure that their site results come up quickly when you search for a hotel in a particular area. Then Priceline and Booking.com stuff gets served. So there were some margin related issues there. But to me, this one looks like a great opportunity, provided you've got enough cash in your account to buy at least one share.
Yeah, listen, it's about what, 23,000 Rand for one share.
Yeah.
But I always say Berkshire Hathaway, which is $250,000 a share, at some point in time was $1,800 a share. And look what a great investment it turned out to be. They do pay a margin, to be the first or second search result that comes out on Google. But remember that 1 out of 3 search results, the person that's searching 1 out of 3 times would go to the first or the second one. Yeah. So I think it's probably worth it.
What about the idea that Google will seek to compete with them? I suppose that's a tricky issue, and Google does seem to want to use its maps and functionality to kind of get into the game. But Google must realize as well that they benefit significantly by having this relationship with the likes of Priceline.
Yeah, I think, if you look at, in terms of market share, it's a highly fragmented market globally. Global travel market's about $1.3 trillion. Priceline's probably about 5 or 6% of that. So it's the biggest player,
statistic.
In a very fragmented market. But on the flip side of that, they still got plenty of opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
Google may be restricted from competing because of the recent EU sanction against them, trying to sell their products online and putting others at a disadvantage. So there's still some issues around there. I still think there's plenty of run road for the likes of Priceline.
And as far as this is concerned, we did mention earlier that other competitors in the space like Expedia, TripAdvisor, there's always, of course, scope for some sort of, further mergers and acquisitions activity in the space. Okay, so I own some Priceline in a different portfolio. Unfortunately, we don't have any in the hot stocks portfolio, but you're hot on this one?
I'm hot on this one. I still think there's plenty of runway. Close to 40 PE, so you need to be careful at which point you enter it. But I think, there's still plenty of growth opportunity.
And now it does look like a good time, because as we saw, the share chart pulled back from above $2,000 a share to this 1.8 and some change.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so we're hot on this one.